How do you explain the feeling that someone's eyes are smiling, but their spirit is hissing? That eerie sensation when you're face to face with someone who looks kind, sounds wise, but something in your bones begins to crawl? That's not paranoia. That's not fear. That's your spirit sensing a mask. And behind that mask, something ancient and hollow, something pretending to be human. Spiritual possession doesn't always look like the horror movies tell you. Sometimes it looks like charm. Sometimes it speaks in poetry. Sometimes it loves you while feeding off you. The most dangerous demons don't break into your life screaming. They knock gently, they mirror your pain, and they speak your language. But they wear skin like clothing, and their smile is stitched together with manipulation. If you've ever walked away from someone feeling drained, dizzy, or suddenly not like yourself, you may have already met one. The spiritually possessed aren't always aware they're being used. That's the tragedy. Some of them are just hollowed out by years of pain, abandonment, and soul suppression. And in that empty place, something darker steps in. It doesn't arrive with horns. It arrives in moments of collapse, after heartbreak, after trauma, after years of living behind masks. And once it settles in, it studies you. It learns how to mimic compassion. It learns how to mimic enlightenment. It becomes a performance so convincing even the host starts to believe it's them. But if you look closely, if you dare to look beneath the surface, you'll notice the glitches. The way their empathy is just slightly off. The way they watch you like prey when you're most vulnerable. The way they twist truth into something that always benefits them. You'll notice it in the stillness. When you sit across from them and try to go quiet, something in you can't relax. Your nervous system clenches, even if your mind can't explain why. You'll notice the hollow echoes in their words, grand spiritual speeches that sound like wisdom but are void of real presence. You'll see the hunger behind their compliments, the way their touch feels like a transaction. You'll hear their laugh and feel no joy behind it. And if you ever challenge their facade, you'll see the mask begin to crack. The anger will come quick. The manipulation will double. They'll either turn icy cold or become devastatingly sweet. But both are tactics. Both are defenses to keep the mask from slipping. Because if it slips, they lose control. And the thing possessing them, it doesn't like to be seen. So the first key isn't in confronting them. It's in trusting yourself. It's in believing the chills, believing the dizziness, believing the dissonance that screams when your soul and their energy don't align. Your intuition is the flashlight in the dark. It's not always dramatic, it's subtle, like a thread being tugged in your gut. And it often gets drowned out by politeness, guilt, or spiritual naivety. But once you accept that evil can wear kindness, that demons can quote scripture, that possession can look like power, you start seeing through the illusion, you start sensing the performance, you start realizing that not every healer is healing, not every guru is guided, and not every friend was ever meant to sit beside your soul. You don't need to understand them fully. You only need to see what they don't want you to see, that their light isn't real, it's a borrowed flame. And it burns to consume. You don't need to hear their words to know something's off. You can feel it. The air around them feels different, heavier, thicker, like it's carrying something that doesn't belong to this world. You try to rationalize it away. Maybe you're overthinking. Maybe you're just tired. But no, it's more than that. Their presence doesn't soothe. It stirs something uneasy in your chest. It coils around your spirit like smoke, creeping into your clarity, blurring your boundaries. It's the kind of energy that whispers lies, not in language, but in feeling. It says, you're safe here, while your soul screams, run. It says, this is love, while your heart shrinks in fear. The spiritually possessed don't always use manipulation through logic. They use your emotional landscape against you. They find the cracks in your identity and drip poison slowly until you start doubting your own reality. They are masters of emotional mimicry. They'll mirror your pain so perfectly, you'll believe they understand you like no one else ever has. They'll echo your words, reflect your wounds, and nod at your deepest confessions with the tenderness of a saint. But behind their eyes, something watches coldly. Something that's not moved by your story. It's mining it. Not to connect, but to control. And before you realize it, you've handed them the map to your vulnerabilities. That's how they work. Not through force, but through intimacy. They seduce the part of you that's starving to be seen, and then they feed it just enough to keep it hungry. You'll feel emotionally bonded, but energetically suffocated. You'll feel chosen, but caged. You'll confuse their attention for affection, their presence for safety, and their flattery for truth. Eventually, you'll start betraying yourself to keep their love. You'll abandon your own red flags. You'll silence your instincts. You'll spiritualize their harm and call it a lesson. You'll twist your pain into growth and ignore the fact that you're shrinking. This is how the possessed survive, by convincing you to dim your light so they can shine. They need your confusion to maintain their illusion, because clarity is their enemy. Stillness threatens them. Your truth starves them, so they keep you emotionally off balance. One moment you're adored, the next you're discarded. One moment you're their soulmate, the next you're the problem. But notice this, the chaos always centers around them. The drama always follows their shadow, and no matter how much healing they preach, they never seem to evolve, only perform. You must remember this. Spiritual energy doesn't lie. It's only the mind that doubts it. Your gut knew, your body knew, your soul knew, but your empathy tried to fix them. Your compassion tried to save them. Your loneliness mistook their presence for purpose. But now you begin to see, it's not about blaming them. It's about reclaiming yourself, about realizing that spiritual warfare isn't always external. It happens in the quiet exchanges, in the unseen games of energy. And if you've been feeling drained, confused, foggy, or fragmented around someone who once felt magnetic, it's time to step back, not to punish, but to protect. Because something is feeding off you, and it wears a mask with your favorite smile. There was a time when they were pure. Before the mask, before the manipulation, before the possession, they were simply human, flawed, afraid, and yearning for something real. But over time, pain piled up. They were never taught how to feel it, so they buried it. Buried it so deep that it created a vacuum, a hollow space where their soul used to live. And nature hates a vacuum. What fills it isn't always light. Sometimes it's the darkness they tried to outrun, the ungrieved grief, the swallowed rage, the shadow they denied so long it found another way to live, through something ancient and patient. That's how the possession begins, not with a dramatic takeover, but with a quiet surrender. The host forgets who they are. They abandon their inner light, and something else steps forward, wearing their face. What makes it more haunting is that they don't even notice it happening. They keep living, keep loving, keep praying. But the decisions no longer come from their soul. They come from the entity that learned how to speak their language. And because they still sound like themselves, it's hard to tell what's real. The possession doesn't look like madness. It looks like charisma. It looks like influence. It looks like a person who's gotten everything together while your life feels like it's falling apart. But that's the trick. They haven't healed. They've been hijacked. You start to see the signs in their need to control, their need to always be right, their obsession with spiritual authority, with being admired, followed, worshipped. They confuse attention with love and devotion with power. And if you dare challenge the script they're acting out, you'll meet the entity, not the human. The entity is clever. It's not here to throw tantrums. It's here to win souls. It will guilt trip you with enlightenment, shame you with scriptures, gaslight you with compassion. It knows the language of healing, but it has no interest in healing you, only in binding you to their narrative, to their need, to their brokenness disguised as divinity. You'll notice how they never apologize without a hidden hook, how they never listen without strategizing, how they weaponize your pain as evidence that they're the only one who understands you. This is not love. This is spiritual enslavement. And the tragedy is, the host, the real person inside, may still be in there, screaming beneath the surface, but they've forgotten how to speak without the entity moving their mouth. So you must choose clarity over closeness. You must stop hoping the host will come back. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes the pain they ran from is so deep that they've fused with the thing that offered them escape. It doesn't make them evil, it makes them dangerous. Because what's speaking to you isn't love, it's a hunger masquerading as light. And you can't save them by staying. You save yourself by leaving, by cutting the cord, by facing the grief of letting go, not just of them, but of the illusion. You loved a soul that no longer owns its voice. That's the heartbreak. That's the initiation. And on the other side of it, something else awakens in you. The vision to see through spiritual masks and the courage to walk away from the ones who no longer wear their own face. They speak in words dipped in honey. Alignment, awakening, oneness, vibration, a symphony of sacred language flowing from lips that once knew truth but now use it to seduce. You listen because you want to believe. You want to believe that someone who speaks the language of the soul must also live by it. But there's a difference between sounding spiritual and being spirit-led. The spiritually possessed know this. That's how they operate. They take sacred truths and twist them just slightly. Enough to confuse you, but not enough to trigger alarm. They'll use the vocabulary of ascension to keep you down. Use the language of liberation to tighten your leash. And because the words sound beautiful, you won't notice the way your spirit is slowly being imprisoned by the very teachings meant to set you free. Watch how they talk about love. It's always conditional. It always has a hierarchy. They are always at the top. They are the awakened one, the chosen vessel, the divine messenger. And you're the student, the follower, the one who just isn't quite there yet. But don't worry. They say stay close and maybe, just maybe, you'll catch some of their light. It's spiritual manipulation masked as mentorship. They position themselves as gatekeepers to the divine, implying that your access to God must pass through their approval. And if you ever step into your own power, they'll subtly remind you to stay humble, stay teachable. Don't let the ego get in the way, never realizing it's their own possession that reeks of ego in disguise. You begin to shrink to keep the peace, dimming your voice in rooms where truth is distorted by charisma. Then there's the silence. The way they use it to dominate. They don't just speak in riddles, they master the art of withholding affection, clarity, validation. They make you chase their approval under the illusion of earning your enlightenment. They keep you guessing, was that a test, a lesson, a spiritual initiation, or were they just punishing you in silence, too prideful to say what they feel? And because you've been taught that discomfort means growth, you interpret the tension as healing. You spiritualize the abuse. But the truth is, growth doesn't confuse. Love doesn't disorient. Real spirituality doesn't leave you walking on eggshells. It liberates. And if you feel more anxious, more unsure, more fragmented the closer you get to someone claiming to be enlightened, then maybe you're not walking beside a teacher. Maybe you're standing in the shadow of someone possessed by the idea of being divine. So learn to listen beneath the language. Feel the energy behind the words. A possessed person will always try to sound holy while moving from hunger. Their sermons are rehearsed. Their compassion is calculated. Their presence is performative. And the deeper you listen, the more you'll hear the emptiness echoing beneath the beauty. Don't be fooled. Truth isn't in the words, it's in the frequency. And no matter how poetic the mask, it can never vibrate at the resonance of real love. Because love doesn't seek control. Love doesn't need an audience. Love doesn't wear a mask. It reveals, it exposes, it sets free. And if someone's truth is costing you your intuition, your boundaries, and your peace, it's not truth, it's seduction. Spiritual language wrapped around a void. They become everything you need them to be until they've taken everything they need. Then they become something else. This is how the spiritually possessed manipulate, through mirrors. Not the kind that reflect your truth, but the kind that distort it. They study you with an intensity that feels intimate at first. They watch your gestures, your wounds, your words, and reflect them back in ways that feel familiar. So familiar, you begin to think they're your twin flame, your soul connection, your destined counterpart. But what you're really seeing is a costume stitched together from your own longing. They don't love you, they love your energy, and their affection is never about giving, it's about feeding. The mirror doesn't see you, it imitates you. And once you fall in love with your own reflection, they slip in through the cracks. In the beginning, it feels magical. The synchronicities, the uncanny similarities, the way they finish your thoughts. But soon that connection begins to twist. They start speaking over your intuition. They start defining your reality for you. Suddenly, your sacred anger becomes ego. Your grief becomes resistance. Your boundaries become fear-based conditioning. And every time you try to reclaim your truth, they hold up the mirror again, distorting your reflection until you question your own soul. This is the possession at its most cunning. They make you believe that the only path to clarity is through them, that you can't trust yourself, that your truth needs their validation, and in doing so, they bind your spirit to their illusion, slowly siphoning your power while convincing you they're empowering you. This is not connection. This is consumption, and the moment you stop reflecting their script, when you start expressing something they didn't program, you'll see the mask fracture. The love will become conditional. The mirror will become a weapon. They'll accuse you of being lost, ungrateful, asleep. But what they really mean is that you've become unpredictable. You've stopped feeding the possession. You've remembered who you are, and that threatens the entire illusion. Because a spiritually possessed person can only thrive in environments where others are spiritually blind, where intuition is silenced, where authenticity is manipulated, where love is distorted into loyalty. And when you awaken from their mirror spell, you begin to see how many parts of yourself you abandoned just to stay loved by them. So take your truth back, smash the mirror, look into your own eyes, and remember the face you wore before they molded you. You are not their reflection. You are not a character in their performance. You are not here to be consumed. You are here to be sovereign. And if your clarity threatens them, let it. If your truth offends them, let it. If your light exposes their shadow, let it. Because the only people who fear your authenticity are those who benefit from your illusion. The spiritually possessed wear masks of mirrors, but once you stop seeing yourself in their eyes, their power fades. And in that fading, you find yourself again, not as a reflection, but as a force, not as a follower, but as the flame. It doesn't happen all at once. It's subtle, incremental, almost unnoticeable until you wake up one day and realize you no longer recognize yourself. You're tired, not just in body, but in soul. The kind of exhaustion that no amount of sleep can fix. The kind that comes from being emotionally harvested. That's what the spiritually possessed do. They feed, not on food, not on money, but on energy. Your energy, your light, your attention, your softness, your ache to be seen and loved becomes the very offering they drain. And the scariest part, they'll make you believe you offered it willingly, that it was your choice, that this is what giving means. But love doesn't drain, it sustains. Connection doesn't deplete, it revives. So if you feel hollow around someone who claims to hold the light, ask yourself, what exactly is feeding off your flame? You'll notice the signs. You used to feel joy just sitting with yourself. Now you only feel whole around them, and even that is temporary. You used to have ideas, clarity, a sense of direction. Now you second-guess everything. You used to be able to cry, to feel, to move through your own emotional weather. Now your sadness gets redirected, reframed, repackaged by them until even your pain doesn't feel like yours anymore. This is energetic theft dressed up as healing. The possessed person doesn't want you strong. They want you open, but only open to them. They want access to your spirit without being accountable for how they use it. They call it love, but it feels like erasure. They call it connection, but it feels like dependence. And you start to confuse devotion with depletion. They might even praise your sensitivity at first, celebrate your empathy, call you a light worker, an old soul, a divine mirror. But the moment you use that same sensitivity to question them, challenge them, or name the heaviness you feel in their presence, they turn. The compliments become criticisms. The warmth becomes withdrawal. And suddenly, the one who once called you powerful now calls you too much, too emotional, too reactive. It's not that you've changed. It's that you've stopped being convenient. Your energy is no longer feeding their illusion, and the possession doesn't like that. It punishes you through silence, through distance, through guilt-tripping monologues about how your healing journey has regressed. But the truth is, your light is waking up, and anything feeding off you will see that as a threat. So reclaim your radiance. You don't owe anyone your depletion. You don't have to explain why you feel dimmed, why your intuition curls away from them, why your soul aches in their presence. Trust that ache. It's not fear, it's recognition. You're seeing the energetic cords for what they are, not love, but leashes, not connection, but consumption. And when you cut them, when you walk away, when you let yourself burn alone just to feel your own fire again, that is liberation. That is rebirth. You are not meant to be someone else's battery. You are a source, not a sacrifice. And the moment you stop giving what they never earned, the mask they wear begins to crumble. Not because you exposed them, but because you stopped letting them dim the brilliance that was never theirs to take. They don't stay the same. That's part of the danger. Just when you think you figured them out, they morph. One day, they're the wounded child. The next, they're the enlightened teacher. Then suddenly, they become the misunderstood lover, the stoic monk, or the untouchable mystic. The spiritually possessed are masters of shape-shifting because their identity is not rooted, it's borrowed. Stitched together from the archetypes you admire, they watch you, study you, and transform into whatever image you're most likely to trust. And just when you begin to see the cracks in one mask, they slide into another. This isn't growth, it's camouflage. It's survival. The shadow inside them knows it can't survive exposure, so it keeps moving, keeps evolving, keeps seducing with new skins. But underneath it all, the energy remains the same, hollow, hungry, and manipulative. They'll perform their transformation like a ritual. Public displays of vulnerability, long confessions of how they've changed, tears that feel rehearsed, epiphanies timed perfectly to match your doubts. It's a performance, not a process. A rebranding of the same possession in a new costume. And because you crave growth, you want to believe it. You want to believe people evolve, that wounds can heal, that redemption is possible, and it is, but not like this. Real transformation is messy, uncomfortable, humbling. It's not staged for applause. It doesn't need witnesses. But the spiritually possessed are always performing for an audience. Their healing is a monologue, not a metamorphosis. And if you stay long enough, you'll begin to feel the repetition, the way their new self always leads back to the same cycle of control, the same hunger for your light. You'll notice how every version of them still demands your energy. Whether they're the martyr or the mystic, the child or the guide, they still need to be the center, still need you orbiting their gravity. And the moment you step out of that orbit, they shift again. They may become cold, distant, suddenly uninterested in your presence. Or they may double down, becoming sweeter, wiser, more enlightened than ever before. But it's not real, it's bait, a shape-shifting trap. And the more versions they show you, the more disconnected you feel from your own truth. You begin to question your perception. Was the love real? Was the harm real? Were they always possessed? Or did you just not understand them? This is how the shadow works. It confuses clarity. And in confusion, it controls. So stop chasing consistency from someone who only offers illusions. Stop waiting for a version of them that feels safe enough to stay. The possession isn't just in their actions, it's in the constant performance, the endless parade of masks designed to keep you from seeing the emptiness beneath. And the moment you stop needing their evolution to make sense, the spell breaks. You're not here to decode them. You're here to discern. You're not here to fix their shadow. You're here to honor your light. And if someone's identity keeps shifting every time you get close to the truth, that's not healing, that's hiding. And you deserve more than a shapeshifter. You deserve someone who's done the work to be real. There comes a moment, always, when the mask slips. Sometimes it's quick, a flash of rage in their eyes when you say no, a smirk that doesn't match their words, a silence that grows too sharp. Other times it's slow, a slow unraveling of inconsistencies, moments where their words contradict, where their presence begins to feel like pressure, where you start to notice that nothing they give is free, that every kindness has a hook, that every compliment is currency, that everything they do is somehow always about them. It doesn't hit all at once, it creeps in. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. The possession reveals itself in the cracks, not in screaming, not in shadows, but in the moments where their mask no longer fits the shape of your awakening truth. At first, you may deny it. You'll blame yourself. Maybe you're too sensitive, too judgmental, too closed off. You'll remember all the good times, the deep conversations, the healing moments, the laughter that felt holy, but the heart doesn't lie, and neither does your spirit. The pain you feel in their presence now isn't nostalgia, it's clarity. It's the knowing that what once fed you now drains you, that what once felt like love now feels like performance. And slowly, you realize the one you loved never truly showed up. You were loving the mask, the curated persona, the illusion crafted by something that knew exactly how to keep you close. You weren't blind, you were trusting. But now, trust must give way to truth. The moment the mask slips is sacred. It's not a betrayal, it's a revelation, a turning point. And though it may shatter your heart, it frees your soul, because now you can choose. Choose to stop participating in the performance. Choose to reclaim your energy. Choose to walk away not from a person, but from a possession that was never yours to hold. And in that choice, you don't just escape their grip, you escape the version of you that tolerated it. You rise, and your rising is the one thing they cannot mimic, cannot mirror, cannot manipulate. It's yours, real, unshakable, and it is in that moment, the one where their mask falls and your spirit stands unmoved, that the power returns to where it always belonged, within you. You don't need a ritual, you don't need sage or mantras or moonlight. Your clarity is the exorcism. Your silence is the severance. Your departure, the moment you finally stop trying to explain yourself, stop trying to fix them, stop trying to reach the soul that won't come forward, is the sacred act that casts the possession out of your life. You've stared into the false light long enough. You've danced with the illusion. You've handed over your energy in the name of love, in the name of healing, in the hope that if you just gave a little more, they'd finally see you. But now you see that love without truth is bondage, that light without roots is a lie, that spiritual intimacy without integrity is just another prison. And now you're done pretending. Leaving isn't weakness, it's power. It's not a retreat, it's a return to your body, your boundaries, your voice, a return to the quiet knowing you abandoned every time their presence made you doubt yourself. The spiritually possessed don't just steal your peace, they steal your reflection. They twist your intuition into confusion, your softness into shame. And when you walk away, you're not just freeing yourself from them. You're calling back the fragmented pieces of your own soul, the parts you exiled to stay close, the parts you dimmed to keep their approval, the parts you buried under guilt, under hope, under illusion. You're gathering yourself again. And in that gathering, the spell shatters. They will feel it, even if they never say it. They will sense the cord breaking. The possession will panic, will reach for you with old tactics, sweetened words, sudden apologies, even silence sharp enough to cut. But you won't move, because now you know the difference between real and rehearsed, between love and leash, between connection and consumption. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them a final conversation. Some masks are best left on the floor, where they fell, where they belong. Because your freedom doesn't need their permission, your healing doesn't need their understanding. The door you walk through now isn't an exit, it's an initiation. And on the other side of it is yourself, unmasked, unbound, and utterly real. Let them keep the performance. Let them feed off echoes. You are not here to be a stage for someone else's shadow. You are here to be fire, to burn what's false, to walk with what's true. And in doing so, you no longer fear the spiritually possessed, because now you can see them. And once you can see them, they can no longer own you.